us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on our agenda for tonight is the approval of the minutes. Commissioners, we have one set of minutes from the April 16th commission meeting.
I saw no changes.
Nor I make a motion that we approve the minutes from our last commissioner meeting.
We have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 2 is Employee of the Month, Ms. Kellie Payne.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Our Employee of the Month is Kate Johnson with our Children's Justice Center. She has been employed with Carbon County since October of 2013, and she was actually nominated by somebody who previously worked at the center. So I'm going to invite Roberta to come up. And Kate, you can come on up also. And she'll do the nomination.
How are you?
Commissioners, how are you?
Doing good.
This is Kate Johnson. She's been working for the Family Support and Children's Justice for 11 years. When she first came, she was kind of shy, and she opened up and she let us know that she loves kids, and we'd look into the nursery and she'd be over there dancing and doing all kinds of fun stuff with the kids. And I don't know, I think she was made for the job, and I'm just happy to nominate her.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Oh, do you need
You-
another picture? Hey.
Kate, they want to make sure people hear. And if you want to say anything.
Yeah, we're both getting phone calls up here. You're welcome to say anything if you'd like.
Thank you, Berta. She's been a friend since I started there, and she's been through thick and thin with me and all the, the job isn't easy. We've had some trauma, we've had some, hard times, but we've also had some good times, and she's been there with me through both the good and the hard times. So she's been good, and the job's fun. I love the connections we make with the community and getting awareness out to the community and the support we get from the community and from you guys. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for what you do. The next item on our agenda is the Super Service Award. Tina Grange.
Hello, Commissioners. I will start off by reading the nomination. If he knows you, he will greet you by name. If you're someone new, he will always make you feel welcome. He is friendly and patient and genuinely wants to take care of his customers. He has been in customer service in Price and Helper for over 44 years and is very deserving of this recognition. We appreciate Todd and all the other employees at Pick and Rail for all that they do. So our May Super Service winner is Todd Priano from Pick and Rail Market and Helper.
Awesome.
There's some certificates for you too. She'll want to take your photo.
Okay.
Anything, you're welcome to.
Okay. I appreciate you very much, and Helper's got such a good feel. Carbon County altogether's got so much history, and I really appreciate the award and recognition. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks.
Thanks, Todd. We heard that, Kelly. Item 4 on our agenda is open sealed bids for Sheriff's Office vehicle. Did we receive any bids?
We did not,
No bids. Okay, so
which is surprising because we usually do for vehicles. I'm not sure we might want to check with Jeannie on it.
Okay, well, Cletus, sorry you don't get a new vehicle, so.
Get a nice bike for you.
Yeah.
I'd make the motion, we acknowledge that we did not receive any bids and authorize Sheriff Wood and Cletus to go find one.
I'll second that.
A motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the ratification of a commercial property service agreement with the Utah Association of Counties. Amy Peters.
Hello, thanks for having me today. This is just to have agreement that we accepted a commercial bid on our appraisal services from the Utah Association of Counties for $45,000. Would you like me to talk a little bit more about the services? Or
That's a little bit better than the last quote that we received.
Sure. So the first quote that we did on a sealed bid was, I think it was $240,000, and that was not quite what we was looking for. And so, even though we know that commercial appraisal services are expensive, and we were a little bit behind the curve on going out for bids at this point. It should have been done last year. And what we did was we went out to our Utah Association of Counties, which is a supportive group that all counties in Utah belong to. And we pay for services through them as well. And so one of the larger counties advised me of, hey, why don't you go out to them? And also Chief Deputy Assessor Kevin Yule, he knows a few of them as well, and so we just worked with them. They have a program in place that they will provide commercial appraisal services for smaller counties because it's harder to get those counties to have a commercial appraiser in them. So that is what we did this time, and we plan to meet tax roll with those numbers. So we're going forward with that. We think we have good numbers for that. So yeah.
I might add, it was time sensitive, so the contract was signed and they're working for us. So this would just be to ratify the agreement that was agreed to earlier.
Yes.
I don't have
Any other questions or thoughts?
The values were delivered yesterday. I haven't had a chance to review them. We'll be putting them into Puma on Friday, is that what I said?
Uh-huh.
I don't know what day of the week it is, so forgive me. We'll be putting those into Puma on Friday, and then we can review them and validate any errors.
Very good. So I appreciate the efforts that Amy, you're doing in your position now. And as you alluded to, there may have been things that may not have been proper. I'll let legal say if it was legal or not, but appreciate that you're addressing what was not right and getting it going in a direction that it should be in, and also doing it in a frugal manner. To save $200,000 is pretty amazing. So I know the crunch that's kind of put you guys onto, learning a lot of things, but still trying to get things going in the right direction. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks.
So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we ratify the commercial property service agreement with the Utah Association of Counties.
I'll second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. If you'd hang tight. Item number 6 is the assessor update.
Right. Our Chief Deputy Assessor will provide that information.
Thank you. All right. We're currently still reviewing and fixing discrepancies in the property characteristics. Preliminary statistic checks have been given to the state, and we are waiting for the results. I delivered those to them last night at about 6:30, so they should. I haven't followed up today. Been training the staff on how to review all of the BOE that we had last year to see if the valuations are in line or if they somehow went askew. So we've done some training this morning, and we're looking into those, continuing to train. We're just waiting for the results from the statistics. My statistics look reasonable. We got a few things that we need to tweak here or there, but before I did any tweaking, I wanted to make sure we're in alignment with what they're looking for. We went through and we cleaned up all of the errors from the error reports that they have delivered to us given us access to. So those are all cleaned up. So I wanted to give a little quiz here. So the quiz is in property tax. So here's the quiz. If all values in the county raise 10%, what's the net increase in taxes due to the increase in value? And I'll open it up to anybody. Anybody?
I can answer that.
Okay. If all values in the county raise 10%, what is the net tax increase due to the increase in value?
I can answer that.
Okay.
There is no increase.
It's zero. Okay. This is a common misconception. So the next quiz question. If all values are lowered by 20%, what's the net decrease in tax because of the decline in value?
Same answer.
The same answer is zero. So why that's important, as we look forward and we're getting the assessment right, your taxes increase or decrease because you're out of alignment with the other properties in the county. So as your property raises 10% and everybody else raised 5%, you get a tax increase. And everybody else gets a slight decrease even though their values went up. So it's this constant balancing of the role. That's why it's so important to have your characteristics correct. So this year we focused on the reevaluation of all land because we found out in BOE last year that our land was a mess. The characteristics were not correct. So we actually looked at 15,000 parcels and we revalued the land on 15,000 parcels. That's everything except for commercial. We did not touch commercial with that. I'll address commercial here in a minute. So we attended a conference last week, the Utah Association of Counties conference. I don't know its official name, but that's, and one of the discussions the assessor's room was having was about new growth. So new growth is one of the ways that we can change that number from zero to something else. New growth is calculated as last year's value minus, or this year's value minus last year's value, and the thing left over is what the new growth is. So we don't want to add in inflation into that number. So the example I have is if you have a garage that costs $50,000 to build, if new growth is calculated correctly, it should add $50,000 to the tax roll. If it's done incorrectly, it can add, say the market's appreciated 5% and the value of the property was $200,000 before, the increase in value would be $62,000. So calculating new growth incorrectly could both benefit and harm the county, because in a declining market, it would harm the county. So you have to be able to calculate it neutral as to what the market has done and just collect what the improvements are being added or subtracted from the market. So we had a great discussion on that. So with what we're doing next year we're looking at breaking the county up into reappraisal areas, and we'll be reaching out to make sure that we can get the property characteristics properly calculated and collected. We've noticed in a lot of the sales reviews that we've been doing this year that a lot of the data that the MLS is using for our properties is not consistent with what the data we're showing, particularly in basement finishes. In some cases, we have the buildings 600 square feet larger. In other cases, we have the buildings 800 square feet smaller. So it's all over the board. So we need to make sure those characteristics are collected correctly as we look at this. We also went through cells cleaning, which has not been done in this county previously. And so we've done a lot of that. We're going to continue to clean, and we'll clean back through 5 years of cells to make sure that we've got all of that done. That won't be done for the assessment roll, but we're going to continue to work on that. About the commercial valuation, like I said, we were able to get the values from them, I believe it was last night. They didn't do a complete reevaluation of the commercial. So this wasn't a reset that we so need. But in discussing with the people doing it, the first thing you have to do is you have to equalize things. You have to get things so that they're centered and on the right point. So I worked with the individuals that are doing that to center commercial, and then we bound it. We only let it rise at most 20%, and we only let it fall at most 5%. So to help hopefully squeeze that middle ground of where commercial should be. Next year, as we do a detailed review of the characteristics, and there we'll have a deeper dive so that we make sure those characteristics. There are 870 improved commercial parcels, and then about 200 vacant commercial parcels. So we'll be going through those 870 to make sure those characteristics are also collected correctly. That's all I've got. Any questions?
How is the schedule going for this year?
Oh,
Are we close? Are we good?
we're close.
Good.
We are close. We have our initial statistics into the state. It's the 7th of May. They're required by the 15th of May. So we're about a week ahead. From my schedule, we're 2 weeks behind. So, but we are on schedule to meet the assessment deadline, which is 2 weeks from today.
Perfect.
So,
Kevin, can I ask a question?
yeah.
UAC, they have on staff, is it John Uliberry that they use for commercial appraisals?
Yes.
So John is who we're primarily using. He's the previous assessor for Weber County. He was the assessor there for 14 years. He's been a commercial appraiser for 24 years, I believe. I know him personally. He teaches a lot of commercial appraisal classes. I took all of my commercial classes from him. I'm just not. In the assessment world, you have designations and qualifications. So since I was gone from the assessment world for more than 5 years, mine expired. So I have to work on getting those back. So we'll
No
do
problem.
that
Just
next year.
wanted to let the public know that it was somebody who was well qualified. That
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Very well qualified, and he has a team behind him. Top notch in statistics and moving forward with that. So yeah, it wasn't done by somebody that's not qualified or not. He's going to come down, and we're going to spend a couple days reviewing the commercial markets and where they're at. So that's for next year.
Great. Any other questions, comments?
No question, just comment. I think I just expressed my appreciation for Kevin and Amy and your staff, and the huge amount of work that you've tried to sift through before the end of May here, when there's deadlines, and unable to make changes even for you, Kevin, prior to January 1st. So thank you. I think this county is blessed for having you here and having you able to train our folks and get them up to speed so that we can get a more fair and accurate tax roll so everyone is paying their share and not too much.
It's going to get better and better year over year. So I really appreciate the staff. They're hardworking, they're very dedicated, and they're willing to learn. And that's all you can ask for. So I will just say this, the assessment roll will not be perfect. It is very complex. It is very difficult to do. And if you've never tried to value 13,000 pieces of property at the same time, come on down. I'll walk you through the process. But it's a challenging feat to do. So,
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate the update. Moving on, item number 7 is consideration and possible approval of real estate purchase agreement between Carbon County, the seller, and the Department of Wildlife Resources, the buyer, on project number L065AQ0293. Do we have anybody to speak to this? Going once, going twice. So this is the parcel, I believe, that is up Consumer Canyon. There are 2 parcels listed, but only one on this item here. If you wanted to speak.
I think the goal of the state of Utah Division of Wildlife are anxious to just some very small pieces of property up in the consumers area where the old town was, and they're trying to, they own everything in there except some very small pieces of property, and the county has 2 parcels there. They've identified one. They need to put the other one on there as well.
Yep.
But the conversations with them was they're trying to get with all of the landowners. There's a few others besides the county. So we'll just have to wait to, I think we have the agreement here.
We do have it here. This parcel is on the 2A-0980-0000. It's a 0.04 acres, 1,742 square feet, so it's pretty small. The other parcel that's just north of that is 2A-0975-0000, and it's 0.07 acres, so just over 3,000 square foot. So it's pretty small land of no value in my mind to the county.
No.
Unless we're going to put maybe Cletus's office up there. I'm picking on you tonight, Cletus. Sorry about that. So I guess if we want to entertain this one parcel and this agreement that's in front of us.
I'll make the motion that we approve the real estate purchase agreement between Carbon County, the seller, and the Department of Wildlife Resources, the buyer. Project number L05 or L065 AQ0293. And you got that parcel number again? I don't see it right off the bat
Just
here.
right on the back. It is parcel right here.
2A-0980-0000.
So we have a motion.
Yes, I'll second that.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on, item number 8 is an update of the Upper Basin Colorado River Council by Mr. Mark Stilson. Mark's coming up and might have to make sure we don't have any IT issues here. He has a little bit of a presentation for us.
Thank you. It's good to be here with you today. Let's see if we can get the, how do we get the presentation up on the screen? Okay, we're plugged in.
We've got it here.
While we're waiting for that, we appreciate the opportunity to come and visit with you. We've been doing these presentations around the state within the Colorado River Basin in Utah for the last few months. Utah and the other 6 basin states are working really hard to come up with an agreement by the end of May, first part of June, that would define the next operating criteria for the Colorado River Basin. And so what I'm going to show you today is an update on where those negotiations are and kind of some of the details that the parties are working on. Colorado River Basin, which we're a part of, 250,000 square miles, 7 states, 2 countries, 30 federally recognized tribes. It's a powerhouse of economic activity, supports 40 million people, 4,200 megawatts of power production, $8 billion of ag value, $1.4 trillion total value, 5.5 million acres of farmland, and 16 million jobs are dependent on this one river. Our agency, which is the Colorado River Authority of Utah, was established in 2021. Previous to that time, the Division of Water Resources represented Utah in the interstate negotiation space. The legislature felt like it was important to have an agency dedicated specifically to this task, and that's when they stood up our agency. Gene Shawcroft is our Colorado River Commissioner, and you can see the other members of our board. J. Mark Humphrey represents Carbon and Emery County. The mission of the authority is simply to protect Utah's right to use water within the Colorado River system. As we do that, we also focus on conservation, use, and developing those waters. We have 5 different councils, which are advisory councils, which present local issues to the board. So one of those is representing Carbon County. That's the Central Council, and that's Carbon and Emery and the Uinta Basin. So this all started in 1922 with the signing of the Colorado River Compact. The 7 states got together and signed a compact that divvied up the waters of the basin. But since that time, you can see a whole bunch of additional congressional acts, a treaty with Mexico in 1944, an Upper Basin Colorado River Compact. What you hear in the news that's being renegotiated right now is not the compact itself. It's the 2007 interim guidelines for shortage and coordinated operations and everything past that. So the 2 minutes and the drought contingency plans in 2019. All of those were temporary agreements that expire at the end of this year. Those are operational agreements. They were temporary in nature. And quite frankly, the 2007 agreement wasn't good for the Upper Basin, so we're not sad to see it go. But we do need something to take its place. So originally the compact allocated $7.5 million to the Upper Basin, $7.5 million to Lower Basin, and then the treaty with Mexico in 1944 gave them $1.5 million.
What million what?
Acre feet. So an acre foot is an acre of ground with water 1 foot deep. It's about the size of a football field, flooded to a depth of 1 foot. To give you perspective, Schofield Reservoir holds about 70,000 acre feet. So in 1948, the Upper Basin states got together and divvied up their portion of the $7.5 million by a percentage basis. Utah gets 23% of $7.5 million, or whatever Mother Nature actually provides. The lower division states did their division a little bit different. California got 4.4, Arizona got 2.3, and Nevada got 300,000. In the 1922 compact, this is the language that the upper division states. It's called the non-depletion obligation. The upper division states will not cause the flow of the river at Leaf Ferry, which is located just below Lake Powell, to be depleted below an aggregate of 75 million acre feet for any period of 10 consecutive years. So on average, the upper basin states have to send down the river 7.5 million acre feet per year to meet that obligation. You can see in the blue line is our water use, and the orange line, or excuse me, blue line is our water supply, orange line is our water use. About the year 2000, our usage began to exceed the available water supply, and that's been the case since that time. Back when the compact was signed, the flow of the Colorado River down to Leaf Ferry was actually quite a wet period. The average flow was 17.9 million acre feet per year. During the mid to late 20th century, 1930 to 1999, that average, you can see a big drought period kind of in the 50s and 60s, a big wet period in the 80s. If you average all that out, it's 14.3 million acre feet per year. Since the year 2000 to 2023, what's been labeled the millennial drought, the average flow in the Colorado River is 12.5 million acre feet. This is a graph showing the water surface elevation in Lake Mead and Lake Powell, how it has gone up and down over time, but lately it has just gone down. So that's That's representative of the fact that our demand or use has exceeded the available water supply coming into those two reservoirs. This slide is a little bit dated, but it illustrates the fact that the orange is lower basin and Mexico use, and the blue is the upper basin use. So lower basin states and Mexico have been using between 9 and 10 million acre feet, while the upper basin states have been using between 3.5 to 4.5 million acre feet. So the lower division and Mexico use 2, sometimes up to 3 times the amount of water that the upper basin states use. And pay particular attention to 2021. Our use, that was a drought year, and our use dropped 1 million acre feet from the previous year. Not because we wanted it to, not because we chose to not take the water, but simply Mother Nature just didn't give it to us. So the 10-year running average, which is mentioned in that obligation in the 1922 compact, this graph shows our 10-year running average. You can see in 2010, we were sitting just above 85 million acre feet, right around 86 million acre feet. The 2007 agreement had the effect of essentially taking water out of Lake Powell and dumping it down into Lake Mead. And that boosted our 10-year running average to a high point in 2020 of 92.5 million acre feet. So we were looking pretty good, feeling pretty good, but then look how quickly that's dropped off. Right now, our 10-year running average is sitting just under 85 million acre feet. And the blue, purple, and red lines or orange lines are projections of releases from Lake Powell. If you look at the orange line, it's a release of 7 million acre feet per year. The purple is 7.48 million acre feet per year. And the blue is 8.23 million acre feet per year. We're on schedule to release 7.48 this year and probably 7.48 next year. So if you look at the 2 dots, that would be the 2 releases. And by the end of the water year 2026, our 10-year running average is going to be sitting right on top of 82.5 million acre feet. Now what we have in the compact is the 75/10. The lower basin states assert that 1/2 of Mexico's 1.5 million acre feet should come out of the upper basin. So if you add that on to our 75/10, that bumps that number up to 82.5. So lower basin states have drawn the line at that value and have told the upper basin states, if you fall below that value, you're in violation of what they feel like is the spirit of the compact. And they would put a compact call on the river, essentially saying, upper division states, you owe us water. And you can see the projected lines, they all fall below 82.5, and the 2 worst fall below 75/10 within the next 10 years or so. So very likely we will, within the next 10 years, not be able to make that obligation. So the negotiations which are going on right now are called the post-2026 negotiations, and all 7 states agree that there needs to be water reductions in the volume of between 2 and 4 million acre feet to bring the system back into balance. The lower basin states have agreed in principle to take the first 1.5 million acre feet of cuts, which will help. And that essentially accounts for the evaporation losses off of Lake Mead and the system losses down to their points of diversion. So we appreciate that, and we think that's in order. And both basins agree the operations are insufficient to protect water elevations in Mead and Powell. Neither basin wants to see either of those reservoirs drained completely down. So what are the sticking points? Well, beyond 1.5 million acre feet, who takes additional reductions and in what amount? So if we've got to get to 2 to 4 million acre feet, what do we do past 1.5? We want the lower basin states to take into account that we do take hydrologic shortage every time we have a bad year. We do get cut. We don't have two big reservoirs sitting above us that provide 100% supply year after year after year. So we want that recognized in the negotiations. And then how exactly do we reoperate Powell and Meade? So lower basin states have said, hey, we'll take the first 1.5 million acre feet of cuts, but we want to split any additional cuts with the upper basin 50-50, 1-to-1. The upper division states have countered that and said, well, first of all, recognize our hydrologic shortage, and then maybe we should split on a proportionality based, because they use 2 to 3 times as much water as we do. So maybe 2-to-1 would be a better split. That's the heart of the negotiations right now, is we've got a proposal on the table from the lower basin 1-to-1, and we're trying to negotiate that for a better deal for the upper basin. What we have put on the table, and the lower basin states have flat out told the upper basin that they're not willing to take all of the cuts. So if we need to reduce water use by 2 to 4 million acre feet, the lower basin states have said they're not going to take all of that. The upper basin has to have some skin in the game. So the upper basin states have put on the table and have offered water use reductions in the realm of 200,000 acre feet per year among the 4 upper basin states, which is Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, and New Mexico. If we do that, we want a specific credit account in Lake Powell. So if we save that water and send it down to Powell, we want our name on it. Also, any water that we release from the upper division reservoirs like Flaming Gorge, Navajo, and Blue Mesa, if we send that down to Powell, again, we want a specific credit account in Powell with our name on it. Finally, what we want out of this deal, and again, this is going to be a temporary agreement, hopefully for 20 years, we want compact compliance. In other words, what we mean by that is we want the threat of a compact call that has unlimited cuts to be taken off of the table. So there's 2 ways to take cuts. One is through mandatory reductions, and it would be the junior priority water rights that would be at risk. So who holds junior priority water rights? Well, pretty much every public water supplier in the Colorado River Basin is delivering some of their water under junior priority water rights. And then our other Achilles heel is our storage reservoirs. Most of our storage reservoirs were built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and they were built under junior priority water rights. And a lot of our power production comes off of storage water, and a lot of our ag production comes off of storage water. Mandatory reductions would likely be administered by the state engineer, first in time, first in right, kept by the priority of the water right without regard to what the use is, and there would be no compensation to the water users, and probably not much potential for additional growth. The upper basin states, all 4 of them, have suggested that perhaps a better way to take water reductions is through some type of voluntary program. And that voluntary program would be temporary in nature. The water users would be compensated for their savings, and it would result in real water use reductions. So in 2023, the Utah legislature appropriated $5 million for a pilot project in Utah. Our agency was given the task of standing that up. In 2024, there was a provisional accounting memorandum of understanding signed with the Bureau of Reclamation. So any water savings that we do, we can measure and track and account for all the way down to Lake Powell. And then we can go to the Bureau of Reclamation and argue that, hey, that should have our name on it. And we should have a credit account in Powell for that water. So there's some advantages to a voluntary program. Number one, it allows the water users to help craft that program or create that program. We're actively soliciting input from the water user community. How can we create this program that works for you? Give us your thoughts. It keeps the water users essentially in the driver's seat. It's a temporary program. So if somebody participates 1 year and they don't want to participate the next year, they don't have to. They can put their farmland back in production and just keep going. The farmers would be compensated, or for that matter, any entity that participates. So a municipality, like a county, or a water conservancy district, or a city could also put water into this program. And they'd be compensated for the water that's leased under the program. And then as long as we're meeting our obligations to our downstream neighbors, we should have the ability to do what we want. As long as we're meeting our commitments, if we think that we could build a new reservoir or have some additional development, then we should have the right to do that. Now, this type of voluntary program has been tested already with the System Conservation Pilot Program. This is the 4 Upper Division states who have participated in this. And it ran from 2015 through 2018 and was reauthorized in 2023 and 2024. You can see in Utah, we didn't get off to a good start. We had 0 participants in 2015, only 1 in 2016. We had 6 participants in 2017 and 2018. And the compensation back during that first phase of the program was not very good. And the farmers at the end of the program said, hey, this isn't really working for us. In 2023 and 2024, when they were reauthorized, again, this is a federal program with federal dollars, they upped the compensation significantly. And at those prices, the farmers said, okay, now we're getting to the point where we're making enough off of this program to replace what we would have made had we had the ground in production. So in total, during the 6 years of the program, they estimate that it saved 149,000 acre feet at a total cost of around $53 million. The last year of the program, Utah farmers received about just under $10 million for their participation in the program. So this just highlights last year, there were 31 farmers in Utah who participated. You can see the map on the right side. There was a group in the Price River area. There was a few down around the town of Green River, a handful up in the Uinta Basin, 2 out on the Colorado main stem, and 1 down in Monticello. So how did the farmers utilize the program? They could do whatever they wanted. If they wanted to do deficit irrigation, if they wanted to switch crops, if they wanted to do a split season, maybe a full season fallow, or lease some of the reservoir storage. So it's really a flexible program for the farmers to utilize however they want. For our little pilot program, it's running for 2025 and 2026. It's just a 2-year pilot. The compensation for this year is $390 an acre foot for the conserved consumptive use, $150 an acre foot for irrigation system conversions, and $150 an acre foot for storage forbearance, or essentially water that's coming out of storage. We had 27 applicants. If we could have taken all 27 applicants into the program, it would have saved just over 22,000 acre feet per year. But it would have cost us around $6.3 million per year. And remember, we only have $5 million total for the pilot program. There were 19 farmers who wanted to do partial or full season fallow, 0 irrigation system conversions, and 8 storage forbearance applications. So as it shook out, we have the southeast tributary, which is the Price area. We have one farmer up on the Green River near Ouray. We have some folks here in the Price River for storage forbearance, and an entity up in the Uinta Basin on the Duchesne River. So of those 4 different projects, they save about 11,000 acre feet per year at a cost of around $2 million per year. Notice the one on the Duchesne is a 4,500 acre foot per year donation. It's by a water conservancy district who had a fire above their watershed. They piped the water. They didn't want a bunch of debris coming into their diversions and down into their pipes. So they shut their gates for the year and donated the water to this program. Restating the purpose of the program. This is, in my opinion, a temporary measure to help maintain viable agriculture, again, with a temporary voluntary compensated program that reduces water use in the upper basin for the length of whatever is negotiated. Hopefully it's a 20-year, maybe it might be just a 10-year agreement. But it gets us down the road a ways. And that will help. Maybe Mother Nature in 20 years will change her mind and give us some more water. If not, then we've got 20 years to improve the efficiency of how we use our water. And we can work hard on doing more with less. So either way, we think that there's some benefit in this type of program. The 7 basin states hopefully will find consensus within the next month. We still have to engage Mexico. We have a hard deadline of August 2026 to get all of this done. Thanks for letting me come today. Do you have any questions? And I'm welcome to take questions from whoever. So.
Get the lights back on it. No, Mark, water is not an easy thing. I always joke that you can talk Utah versus BYU, you can talk religion, but you can't talk water with people. They literally will kill you for it. So this is an issue, though. It's not going away. It is an agreement that's over 100 years old. Some things that need to be revised on it, and I appreciate you presenting it to us and letting us maybe try to tackle and help where we can.
Yes, and we'd welcome any suggestions. If anybody's got a better idea, we'd be happy to entertain it.
I think the bottom line for the residents of the county to understand is that one way or another, there's going to be a reduction. If it's not voluntary, then the state engineer will do it. And for us in our area, the people who own Schofield water shares in Schofield Reservoir are going to be probably the first affected by any reductions that have to occur if it's not voluntary.
Yes, and if we had our way, we wouldn't be doing any of this.
Yeah.
But by nature of sharing the Colorado River system and the fact that the supply in the system has gone way down, we're forced to deal with our neighboring states. And that's just the fact of the matter. And we don't have enough water to go around, so what do we do?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
A second there. So, according to your graph, they talked about how the lower basin, when they judged the water, it was on their high year, right? When we had a lot of water coming through, and they're saying, "Hey, we need 75 million at least." Are they revisiting that?
Are they? Can we renegotiate the compact? We could try, but there's a lot of dangers to that. Number one is if we can't successfully negotiate this, both sides have said, we're going to go to court. And it would end up in the Supreme Court. And the real problem with that is it takes it out of our hands. As long as we're negotiating, we can control that process. We can set the terms. But if it goes to court, then a bunch of lawyers and a bunch of judges get to decide. Same thing politically. If we open up the compact and it doesn't go the way we want it, we probably are in a tough spot politically. So I don't know if that's a good answer to your question.
Well, it could backfire.
Yeah.
Could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All
Commissioner.
right, thanks, Mark. Item number 9 is presentation of the Transportation Master Plan from Jones and DeMille. If you would, just say your name for the record.
Okay, my name is Matthew Lenhart with Jones and DeMille. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah.
I think should be plugged in there. While that's getting loaded up. So basically, we've been working with Daniel Luke in the Roads Department and Lincoln. We've also worked with Commissioner Jensen and Todd Thorne in Planning and Zoning on creating this transportation master plan. So about a year and a half ago, the county applied for a state grant sponsored by UDOT for a transportation master plan. The grant covered, it was a 95% grant with a 5% match. So it basically covered the whole cost of the plan. And the purpose of UDOT's funding source there is to establish planning for transportation throughout municipalities and counties throughout the state, so that cities and counties can be consistent in their transportation planning with what UDOT's vision is. So we've actually been coordinating with UDOT throughout this planning process. And we're hoping to wrap this up later this summer after we do some public involvement. But we just wanted to show you where we're at with the project right now. So ultimately, the final deliverable of the project will be this online story map, which will include a lot of the maps that we've created with the project. And then there's also a report which includes all of our data and analysis. And I won't get into that. It's about 90 pages long, so I won't bore you with all the details of that. But so about well, let me just go over this story map. So this will be a publicly available document. It's hosted by the county GIS. And so in a commission meeting or a planning and zoning meeting, or anyone from the public could come onto this website and then open the maps or the report to access any of the information that we've created here. So this is the home page. This is the project overview page. It just kind of talks about the purpose of the project, what we're going for, kind of the goals and objectives of the project. This is just for reference, a socioeconomics page. This is data pulled from the US Census. So we just kept that in there just as a reference. As you're going through the maps, you can bounce back to this for information. This is where the bulk of the information is going to be on this online map. So I'll just walk through each of these maps specifically. And then if you have any questions, feel free to interject and let me know. But basically on the, looks like it unloaded. I will get back. Well, I might have to connect to the internet here real quick. Sorry about that.
We're just glad it was your technical issue, not ours. So.
Yeah, you got the other technical issues worked out already, right? Yeah, I'm just connecting to my hotspot real quick. Anyway, while that is pulling up, I will go to the report. So about last summer, we started the project by doing some traffic counts on the roads throughout the county to determine traffic volumes on some of your major roads. We also got speed limits or speed data from the vehicles on the roads. So we could determine if there were areas where people were speeding consistently. And then we also gathered data on trucks, whether there were heavy trucks on any of the roads throughout the county. So we could get a better idea of which roads needed to be improved, which roads needed to be focused on, or as far as, traffic control goes, which roads needed to be addressed for speeding concerns. So that data, I can pull that up in here in this report. Sorry, I was hoping to get to this later after I got to the maps, but we're going to wait while that's loading. So here you can see the truck data. So we averaged out the number of trucks on each road that we took account on. So that data is included. And then here's the speed data. So you can see which roads had a consistent speeding pattern. So that could be helpful information to access. All right, looks like I'm connected to my hotspot. So let me try reloading this.
And will this transportation master plan, will that be on the county website or the Jones and DeMille?
It'll be on the county's website.
Okay.
So here's the map where we had those traffic counts. So you can see the information there. So you can access each count. You can click on a point and it will tell you what the traffic volume was, what the speeds were, what the vehicle classifications were on there. So that's what that map is for. Now, if I go back to this first map that I was looking at, so this is a roadway classification network map. So basically, UDOT uses these maps to determine which roads have the highest volumes and the highest priority throughout the state. So as part of this plan, we went through and made sure that all of your roads that needed to be given higher priority were being given higher priority. And we found that your roads were actually classified really well. A lot of the times we'll come in to a city or a county and they won't really have many roads classified, but you had a good classification network already established. And so we made some minor adjustments. And I guess the benefit of adjusting some of the classification on the roads is that it improves the county's ability to receive funding from UDOT or other sources. So here you can see on the map, there's principal arterials, which are like your highways. And then there's minor arterials, which are roads like Carbonville, or Ridge Road, and then major and minor collectors, which are other high priority roads. So basically there are UDOT funding sources where if the road has to be classified as a collector road in order to receive any sort of funding from that funding source. And so we went through and we talked with Daniel Luke about, which roads would be important to have classified as a collector that could be available for potential funding. Any questions on this map? Okay. This map here just shows the type of roads throughout the entire county that are maintained by the county. So this is showing the paved, gravel, and dirt roads that are maintained by the county for reference there. We also looked at road safety and crash data. We noticed that there is a trend over the past 13 years from reported crashes of increasing crash number and fatalities. It is a slight trend. A lot of that is, as population increases and traffic volumes increase, there's a natural increase in crashes. But with this map, you can see the locations and intersections where there are the most crashes, which maybe should be given higher priority for safety improvements.
But our population hadn't increased more than 0.03 since 1990. Isn't that what you had on your previous slide?
Yes, so the population increase is minor. So the fatality increase, a lot of that was on Highway 6, which is a state-run road, so you don't obviously have much control over that. But we have coordinated with UDOT on several factors on Highway 6, and I can get into that in a minute. This bridges and structures map, this just shows any bridge or structure that's maintained by the county or UDOT that has a span greater than 20 feet. So you can just see all that information there. And then this map shows the projects that we've coordinated and planned for future construction within the next 10 years in the county. So just for an example, one of those projects includes this road here, connecting this highway up to Kenilworth Road, connecting that to the state highway. We've had quite extensive discussions with UDOT about improving connections and safety along this corridor by Spring Glen. There was obviously a high fatality crash there within the past year, and so UDOT's been prioritizing improving this corridor for safety. And so we have a section of the report where we outline all of the major concerns that the county has regarding UDOT highways and kind of the county's recommendations or desires related to those highways. And so we'd love your feedback as well on that section of the report. So is there anything you want to add on that, Dan? Okay. And so if you click on each of the projects here, you can see what we estimate the cost to be, what we estimate the cost to be inflated 10 years to 2034, and then just kind of a summary of what the project would contain. And this information is elaborated on in the report as well. And then it shows you the different types of construction on those projects. This page, actually, I guess, are there any questions on any of the maps that I shared with you there? No. Okay. This page just has a link to, it'll have a link to the report and then other relevant county documents. And then there's just a definitions page because the report especially has a lot of terminology that may be unfamiliar to a lot of people. So we've kind of defined a lot of those terms. So another major aspect of this project is, and we've been coordinating with planning and zoning on this, another major aspect of the project is preparing for future development. So obviously there's the UDOT coordination side of things that we've discussed, but really we want to help the county be prepared as future developers come in, so that the county has two legs to stand on before the developer comes in. So we've established some standards as part of this document, including standards for a traffic impact study, which basically would say if a developer comes in, they would be required to determine their impact to the road network and the transportation infrastructure. And if it's determined that they would have a significant impact by bringing their development into the road infrastructure, they would be required to pay the cost to improve that infrastructure to handle their development. So that could include like a stoplight, a turn lane, something like that. So we've, and that's another thing with this map that I showed you of the future road network. With this map here, it kind of directs development. So you can say, you know, if you want to develop here, we want to make sure that these roads have connectivity, because the problem that the county's had in the past is that there's a lot of dead end roads, and those are difficult to maintain and then they don't connect people, and it's harder to get emergency vehicles in and out of there. And so, in going forward, we're trying to prevent that by ensuring that roads have connectability, so that there's improved safety and mobility throughout the county there. So those are the major focus. Yeah.
Sure.
You're looking at roads both within the cities as well as the unincorporated part of the, right?
So the focus of the plan is on the county's roads. So the city roads, we've included them on here because in UDOT's classification, the city roads are classified in there, but we haven't necessarily looked at connectivity within city roads because that's another jurisdiction.
So did you look at connectivity from county roads to city roads or not necessarily?
Yeah, do you have are you looking for something specifically or just kind of?
No, I'm just wondering, I mean, because all our county roads go into the cities, right? So I'm wondering if that was taken into account.
Yeah, and that's something that we probably need to address in a little more detail and coordinate with the city on, for sure. That is true. There are cities that do have existing plans that we are looking to match into.
Okay, thanks.
But that's a good point, and that's something that I'll definitely take a look deeper into. Any questions for me, I guess?
Any other questions?
I don't have any.
Thank you for working on this and trying to look in the future. I think it's helpful to have a plan, identify our weakness and see where our fatalities are to help, save more of our residents. So I appreciate you taking the time to present to us today.
Yeah.
And you also said that there will be a time for the public to have input on this as well. Are you planning public meetings or just public accessing the website?
Yeah, so we'll have a public open house and we'll make the website accessible as well to the public, where anyone can come and ask questions or look at the maps. And then we'll also, the intention, I guess, is to get this adopted and then have a public hearing before the adoption as well, so that it is solidified as a plan.
Okay, and I imagine you'd probably maybe at the event center or somewhere a little bit larger, a little more room.
Yeah.
Having that meeting.
Yeah, and we can work through the details on that to make sure that it's sufficient to support everyone.
All right, well, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thanks.
Yes. We'll move on as Seth gets the lights on, if I could talk. Item number 10 is consideration and possible approval of a fire and emergency service agreement with Helper, Price, Wellington, and East Carbon cities for unincorporated portions of Carbon County. Commissioner Jensen?
Yeah, since the county does not have a fire department or to help with emergency services and fighting fires, we've had a contract with each of the cities over time, and those contracts needed to be renewed. The approach is a little different currently. We've gone to each of the cities individually rather than collectively like we did in the past, and entered into negotiations with them on providing emergency services for us outside of their city limits. The county's drawn into 4 different geographic areas. Helper takes care of a part of it. Price City does another part. Wellington and East Carbon both have their areas. And so they have their budgets, their fire departments, and we supplement that budget. And so these agreements do 2 things. One is that we have reached an agreement on the percent of effort that each of those fire departments provide outside their city limits. And another part of this agreement would take the money that we give to each one of the cities, and they would send back to us 25% of that amount that would go into a fund that's a discretionary fund for the fire chiefs. And the 4 cities have an association together, and that 25% would go into a pot that actually would come back to the county, and Seth and his staff would disperse money based on the desires of the Fire Chief Association. And Justin Needles would help with that. So we have 4 agreements here, one with Price City, one with Helper, one with Wellington, one with East Carbon. And the part to highlight is, and I'll just go through each one of the cities. The Price City, we've agreed to pay 35% of their annual budget. Helper, 72%. Wellington, 61%. And East Carbon, 50%. The amount that the county has paid in the past is very close to the same amount. But the amounts paid to each of those cities has been adjusted. Some of the cities were getting a little more than maybe they should have, and some getting a little less. So that's the meat of these 4 agreements. And so each one of these would require each of the cities to come in between September 15th and October 15th of each year and present to us their budget that they set, and has to be in place by the 1st of July. So they should have their work done, and then that would be a point where we would determine how much of that of their budget we would pay based off these percentages.
And I know that's not been any easy task as well. So I appreciate you diving into that and trying to get this resolved and make it more equitable for everybody. So any other comments?
Just appreciate your effort getting the percentage. It's a lot more fair for each city.
Maybe just one more comment. So Wellington City and Helper City respond to a lot of automobile accidents on Highway 6, both directions. And so that's why the percentage of their budget is higher than these other cities. Price City responds to more of the emergencies at our homes where there's needed help, not so much on Highway 6. So
I appreciate you pointing that out. And I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the fire and emergency service agreement with Helper, Price, Wellington, and East Carbon cities for unincorporated portions of Carbon County.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 11 is consideration and possible approval of continued property tax exemptions 2025 for Little Learners Charities. Kevin, were you going to speak to this, or?
No, it's me.
Oh, Seth?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, our last commission meeting, we presented the annual continuing property tax exemption list, which we do every year about this time, and we just didn't approve one of them. I think it was because one of the commissioners was not present, so this needs to be approved if you're okay with that.
Yeah, and Commissioner Haddock sat on that board, so he reclused himself. So Tony and I need to do this. So
Yeah.
I'll make the motion that we approve the property tax exemption for 2025 for Little Learners Charities.
I'll step down in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 12 is approval of the interlocal agreements with Schofield Town, East Carbon, Wellington, Price, Helper City, and Price River Water Improvement Special Service District to provide election services for the 2025 municipal primary and general elections. I know this is yours, Seth.
Yeah. Yeah, every odd year, well, each one of these entities will have a municipal election, a primary, and a general election. In the past, we've always just run it for them. They don't have the staff nor the equipment to do so. And so we've always run them for them. There's certain parts of the election that they handle, like candidate filing, but most of it's handled by our office. We've never had any kind of a document like an interlocal agreement or memorandum of understanding or anything like that. So the Lieutenant Governor's office, especially this year, has highly encouraged us to have something in place. So we've got contracts or interlocal agreements with each one of them just to run their municipal elections this year through 2029, I believe. So that's what's before you. There's generally we charge each city based on if they have an actual election that year, because sometimes they won't have enough candidates to have an election. So the cities are just charged for what our cost is to run the election for them. Sometimes that gets a little messy depending on who has elections, but we've always had we've always figured it out between the cities and our office, and it's always run well. So just so you're aware, as far as costs go, we bill them for any costs that they incur for running their elections. It's part of the agreement. That's all I got.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
No questions. I'll make the motion that we approve the interlocal agreements with Schofield Town, East Carbon, Wellington, Price, and Helper Cities, and Price River Water Improvement Special Service District to provide election services for the 2025 municipal primary and general elections.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you for coming.